I didn't grow up speaking Muskogee. I heard the language, but I didn't speak it. And like so many of us, we were taught English so that we would get by well in this world. But I started by learning songs, and song language and poetry language is really the same thing. It has the same roots. And this is the first piece I wrote. It's a prayer in Muskogee. Agus Samen. Hisagaramasi pomadi, moe towigas pogahoyan ye giadi, mon agalejga heathlin, pogalajan abiye yathlis, with praise to the breathmaker, by whose grace we arrive here and by whose grace we leave. But I started, the first language I learned English, and then I left to go to Indian boarding school. I left Oklahoma, the Muskogee Nation, which is in Oklahoma, in the late 60s to attend the Institute of American Indian Arts, and then later went to the University of New Mexico. And I began taking Navajo. I was hanging around with a lot of Navajo students. And it was at the time I was taking Navajo that I started learning to write poetry. And so somehow for me, poetry and the Navajo language, and my poetry in English, and even Muskogee is influenced by Navajo. And I wanted to read this poem in Navajo and in English by Sherwin Bitsui, a young Navajo poet, wonderful poet who I've mentored, several people have mentored, but he's wonderful. And what's interesting is we were talking about, because you write poetry in the language and it's different and it shifts the language and it starts changing the language. And he was going through that too when he was writing this poem called Earth, or Nahazin. And I went through the same thing with the poem I will close with, Morning Song, because you're not doing the ordinary track of language, you're shifting it with the poetry. The poetry changes the language, it ups it and shifts it in very wonderful ways. Nahazin. Ama ya nitzkazi, alse agadi ash ado, hajogo it ashdo, ta'a adagosh yaldelti ahithwini o nihithne, ado nihigi deji igo ahut iya ha'ithka ta'a oth stobita do ya'at eda abini biwo naniniga jigo lejbe hahafkadi do deniigi bigi dindin hle ta'at so to alchjigo niths oits ado ko hedejka. Mother thought, first we will run, then we will walk. She asked, do we ramble when we speak in language, in tongues? Her lack of supervision made this happen. The dusk, the dawn, everything in between, a mistake. The morning, her aching tooth, the shovel dulled in daylight, all digging fire from shallowing rivers. And then Morning Song. This was a song I wrote while in an airport, in the Albuquerque airport, watching the dawn, the sun, which is at the center of our world. It's our star, and it deserves to be addressed and spoken to. And this is in Muskogee. Hatayagi gana mahalajas Agalechka hirogalet Hatayagi de lejet ajangas Hiklasat herahojet obavanga Vlavan wijalisha kamdugos Jepin godlikos The red dawn now is rearranging the earth. Thought by thought, beauty by beauty, each sunrise a link in the ladder. Thought by thought, Beauty by beauty, the ladder, the backbone of shimmering deity. Thought by thought, beauty by beauty. Child stirring in the web of your mother. Don't be afraid. Old man turning to walk through the door. Don't be afraid. At Hayagi igana mahalages. Ajalanska eraho.